Good morning. I just want to piggyback on a couple of things that were said by some of the other folks that I think is really meaningful to this particular audience. My name is Dr. Jameson Lawrence, Esquire, and I'm the CEO and founder of Bvfr and Associates. And we're an investment banking boutique. And unlike a lot of the large investment banking firms you've probably heard a lot about, we've managed for 17 years to stay under the radar and very profitable and successful, mostly I think because we're niche oriented. And I think that'll be important for you guys, and we'll talk about that more in the room across the hall that I think we can get into a lot more detail to. But I want to share something with you. In 2008, President Bush did something I think that was pretty amazing. He recognized that, in a sense, the economy was falling off a cliff, and he decided to boldly push Congress to pass what was called the Housing and Economic Recovery Act. And most of you in the room have probably never heard of that act, and if you did, you don't really know what the import of that is for you as a private sector person. I do. What that did is it changed the landscape for your access to what we would consider to be smart capital. And why that's important is because the Housing Economic Recovery Act allowed for-profit companies to get access directly to the multi-trillion-dollar capital market through how banks would do it, through what's called a Federal Home Loan Bank. So when you guys are typically, probably have very strong balance sheets, and you probably think that you're getting good rates from the bank when you go and you borrow money, and your customers will also borrow monies to buy the widgets that you sell. But what they're probably not doing, what you're probably not doing because you don't know that it exists, is credit enhancing your obligation, your debt obligation tools. What President Bush did, and I think President Obama added on to very smartly, was to allow the capital market through what are called conventional letter of credits to be wrapped by the Federal Home Loan Bank. So that most of you guys who have fairly good credit are going to the banks and borrowing money, and you think that's a good play, but you're not AAA rated borrowers. And AAA rated borrowers are going directly to the capital market, and if GE is borrowing money tomorrow, they're getting monies at maybe 50 basis points above what the banks are getting that monies at. And to me, what strengthens our economy for everyone in this room is your ability to replicate that and do the same thing. So you may say, I'm not GE. Well, neither am I, but I can show you how to access the capital market in a way where you get to borrow the credit rating of the Federal Home Loan Bank. There are 12 across the country, 9 of which still have AAA rated credit. The other 3 have AA plus credit. Still very, very good credit that allows you to get access to 30 to 40-year fixed rate capital at floating rates. If you're doing variable rate demand bonds, probably in the 2.3% range. If you're doing fixed capital cost structures, which are the systems that you're either going to put into place for your clients are going to need for themselves, you can get 30 to 40-year fixed rates in the 3 range, which is unheard of in the conventional market space. And so when I think about some of the accolades that we got, I just was sort of making a note. Wall Street Journal in 2005 said that we were should be the first stop in debt financing. In 2004, the Baltimore Sun and the Washington Post said that Bvfr was the best kept secret. And while those accolades are always really nice to hear, think about we've come 7-8 years and we're still the best kept secret, and we're still not the first stop in debt financing. And so I say to you, today, that as you guys are looking at the sheet that you guys got when you registered, the one thing that all of these clients have in common is that they're not related. They're industry agnostic. And the other thing that they have in common is that, unlike you, they got access to smart capital through these credit-enhanced programs, many of which have been around for a very long time. So if you're talking about USDA, you're talking about, particularly under the BNI program, funds that have been around since 1972, Nixon administration. If you're talking about the Federal Home Loan Bank, it's 1932, folks. So, we're not talking about, when you hear about what Washington isn't doing right, one of the things they are doing is having these programs exist. What we have to do together is get the word out that these programs existed, and more importantly, utilize these programs not only for our own benefit, but for the benefit of our community lending partners. your existing bank are not bad guys, but your existing bank have no incentive in the world to tell you that they're borrowing money at 37 basis points, and they're putting that when you think you have a good rate at 4, just understand what that markup is. So here, what you're doing is you're saying to the bank, I'm not asking you for a loan, I'm asking you to give me access to a pot of money that every single one of us as taxpayers are paying for right now. And to me, that's smart capital. So I'm not telling you that you can't get a loan. That's a silly proposition. What I'm saying to you is that there are much better rates and terms that you can get access to, and I'm hoping that we can have a dialogue and I can sort of educate you on some of those access points that'll make this worthwhile for all of us here. So I thank you for your time and look forward to questions.
Thank you.